Welcome to my thoughts on the new Army Painter primer announcement. I've had a couple of days to kind of think through it, and they've announced new primers. This is not one of them, but it is a can of Army Painter primer. I do have a few of those laying around. And I wanted to kind of go through some of the colors, because we have these colors already in regular Army Painter paints. Kind of talk about the ones that have been discontinued, ones that are on this limited release, and some of the new regular line primers. And to start off, we're going to talk about the gold. And so they did say that they've got the Greedy Gold primer coming. And as I was thinking about it more, I figured out that it actually kind of surprised me more than I thought. That is, why Greedy Gold and not Bright Gold? And the reason for that, I mean, Army Painter knows, but I'm curious because I like, a lighter color to kind of start from. Though these are very similar, I'm wondering if the Greedy Gold maybe was easier to formulate, and that's why they chose it, but either of these are certainly a welcome primer. I just kind of wanted to mention that because I thought that it was their brightest gold when I first saw it, and maybe you did too. Now, we do have a few colors that are going away, and based on comments from the last video, some of you are really having some strong feelings about that, and I totally get that, because this is, your army that you've been collecting maybe for years and painting with this primer the whole time. And one of the ones that kind of surprised me maybe the most is this Chaotic Red. Chaotic Red is going away. Well, that seemed okay to me, given that we have Dragon Red, but if you look at these two colors, oh my gosh, those are very, very different. In fact, the old Chaotic Red is maybe closer to the new regular line oak color than it is to the red. So I don't know, Chaotic Red players, if you've been priming with Chaotic Red, let me know what you're going to do. Plenty of time, I hope, to stock up in these next few months before the release. Maybe you can still find some Chaotic Red, but if that's what you've been using, maybe get that ordered now. They do have, of course, the other two reds, and I pulled them out here, but neither of them are quite that same tone. I think you kind of know what I'm talking about. Again, I like to start from a lighter color and kind of build in the shades and things, but it's just, you're not going to be able to paint it using your same scheme if you stick with a Dragon Red or even that Oak Brown. So let me know what you are planning to do if you used to be priming with Chaotic Red. What's your plan now? Of course, we do have Chaotic Red still in the pot and available as an airbrush paint. Maybe that's the way to go. Alright, moving on to the next one, because the Chaotic Red is discontinued, and now we have the Oak Brown is coming in. And so I pulled out the brown colors, and I want to just say I'm a little bit surprised that both Leather Brown and Fur Brown are sticking around. They seem to be pretty close, closer certainly than the Chaotic Red is to anything, but I mean, I get they're definitely a different tone, and so I'm sure the players who use both of those are going to be happy that they're sticking around. The Oak, a welcome addition for sure, though definitely hard to shade, so the Army Painter's kind of paint dip done kind of thing might be more of a prime, dry brush done, but hey, you can still, I think, get gaming quickly with that nice dark brown color, and that's going to be nice for terrain, I think, as well. Moving on to some new primers that I think did not surprise me at all, and that is that they are doing a light gray and a kind of off-white color. And so we do have the ash gray coming in, and they are specifically saying for speed paint, that makes a lot of sense, and Brainmatter Beige again for speed paint, that makes a lot of sense. I also grabbed the Necrotic Flesh here, and I grabbed the Uniform Gray here, and the reason why is because we've actually done an experiment with speed paint over similar colors. I'm going to definitely be repeating the experiment over these colors, but here's your basic Orc Boy speed painted over a white primer compared to over a light gray primer. In this case, it's a Citadel Gray Sear. I think that is going to behave very similarly with this Army Painter Ash Gray. And so if you like either of these looks, should I go with white or should I go with maybe an Ash Gray or a Gray Sear? Moving on, a little darker Uniform Gray is, again, available in that primer. It's got the little circle on there that indicates that. And here is a model that we primed in a dark gray. Maybe a slightly darker than uniform gray, but you can tell. Definitely give it a different feel, a little more grim dark there maybe. And really picks up the darkness and the shading differently. So maybe uniform gray is worth trying some speed paint over. And then also with the Brainmatter Beige, I got to thinking, how different is that from Necrotic Flesh? And I also remembered we did do some Death Guard Green. It's going to be a very similar feel here. I really like this one, I think. Necrotic Flesh, not a new primer, but one that's welcome for sure from the Army Painter, because I really like their primers. So I think we've got some good options here for speed paint. Two that exist today, these two, and then the two new ones with the Ash Gray and the Brainmatter Beige. Getting back to it, we're kind of peeling back the layers here. We have our next paint that is discontinued, and that is this Goblin Green. And this one is an interesting one to discontinue for sure, because we do have a couple other greens from the Army Painter, but again, if you're thinking, which primer am I going to switch to? I'm thinking the option here, there's that Goblin Green in the middle. The option here might be Greenskin. It's a little bit darker. Not the Army Green as much, unless that's what you kind of go for in your finished models, but again, I think along with that Chaotic Red, you're looking at a pretty significant change to your painting scheme there. I don't know of a primer that's quite like that from any available vendors. Let me know if you do. But Army Painter Greenskin might be your best bet, or again, stock up while you still can. Moving on to our blues here, we actually have one that's been discontinued and one that's new. And another little bit of surprise here, but let's kind of talk about that. We have our Crystal Blue. Put Crystal Blue on the top there. Crystal Blue going away. It's this nice bright blue color, this Crystal Blue. See, it has the primer right now. That is going away. So that bright blue color we are losing, and we are going to gain a temporary release of deep blue. So Ultramarine Blue sticking around as a primer. And so if you've been priming with Crystal Blue, Ultramarine Blue is going to be a hard step for you, I think. That's just, a little bit too dark for what I, would be priming things in Crystal Blue for. This deep blue, compared to that Ultramarine Blue, the difference there is so subtle, I'm not sure that this limited release will be as successful as Army Painter wants, but you tell me if that deep blue is exactly what you want. Maybe I could be convinced. Though again, sad that the Crystal Blue is going away. I think we're going to find you're going to have to think your painting scheme for those miniatures that have used it, or you got to stock up now to keep that in place. Lastly, we have two limited edition ones, and I'm actually going to bring back the Crystal Blue swatch here for just a moment, because if you can't find Crystal Blue, I don't know, there's some Hydra Turquoise. That's a pretty close option for you. Though I will say off camera, you can notice a little more tealiness to that. Depends on your light, and I try to get accurate, on the camera so you can see kind of with your own eyes, but there is a little bit of a difference looking through, a video. So maybe if all else fails, that's what you're going to have to do, is that Hydra Turquoise, though. Again, let me know how that's going to work for your schemes that you've worked so hard on. But hey, Hydra Turquoise, if this is a new color that you're wanting, that's really great. Again, I think that this is on the dark side for the paint dip done. You could probably shade that pretty good, though, maybe with a blue tone or something like that. Pixie Pink, this is cool. A lot of folks, I think, will really love this color. Very neat color here with the Pixie Pink. So it's a new primer, limited release coming out for them. I think that's going to be really cool. I've heard folks say, hey, I love to paint yellow over pink. And I've also heard a lot of talk lately of saying, well, you've got a yellow primer if that's what you want to do. Though maybe Daemonic Yellow is not quite the yellow you're looking for, so you might still like that pink primer for over yellow. Anyways, there you go. Just wanted to kind of fill you in on the color primers that are coming in and some of my thoughts on them. Love hearing your thoughts. Keep those comments coming, folks. It's been really nice to read what you're thinking about this. We got lots of time to think about these. As far as right now, am I pre-ordering any? I probably will jump on the Ash Gray and the Brainmatter Beige. I'm definitely going to be getting a can of each of those from my local game store that stocks the spray primers. I don't know that I necessarily need to pre-order it, though that game store is pretty casual, so if I just, say, hey to the guy, and there's always the owner, and just say, hey, I want one of these, he'll just set me aside one when he gets one. So there you go. I'll be definitely doing a test with the orcs when I get the actual primers in. Though I'm thinking about doing a test by just priming with the existing paints in a way. That might be a little bit different than the actual, finish, but it does say 100% color match. I know some folks are skeptical of that. I've never had a problem with it, but, let me know your experience. I've always find it to be pretty reasonable, the color match, and it really helps for when you prime things like I just primed this squig, and granted that's white, so the color match is less important, but like underneath, I never can quite get underneath real well, even when I tip these guys over, so always nice to have some 100% color match to touch up any weird spots with. And again, that is, of course, more important on something that's not white, because white is pretty consistent. All right, well, thanks for watching, folks. I hope this was useful. Let me know what questions you have, and we'll explore these more in a future video. Now I got to clean off my desk and get ready for the next project. Thanks for watching. Take care. Well, let's get gaming.